Outlaw Sports is brought to you by Molson Canadian, made from Canada, and Rocky Mountain Barbecue, Alberta barbecue cuisine at its best.
Ian Busby of the Calgary Sun joins us. What do the Calgary Stampeders do now? Ian, here they are getting eliminated by the Edmonton Eskimos in a very sloppy Western semifinal. Just a team that looked like they were in the driver's seat at one point until the fumble.
Yes, but that's real early in the game.
Sure it is.
To have the turning point of the game be that fumble. But yes, that was an awful play. Obviously, you just drop the ball, let the other team pick it up and score. That's terrible. But there's other things that just inexplicable. 13 men in the huddle when you have a 2nd and 1 on a drive that you could come back and lots of time to get a touchdown and tie that game up.
Which is the second 13-man penalty
exactly.
of the game.
Just that's sloppiness that shouldn't be happening in the playoff weeks. They should be nice and efficient and smooth by then, and lots of bad things happened in this game for them. They really hurt themselves. Edmonton didn't win this game so much as Calgary lost it, in my opinion. And just the roughing the punter penalty on a single, that would have changed that momentum right before halftime. That one hurt badly too. And just the decision not to go back to Drew Tate, I thought they should have gone back to him, let him be on the bench for a couple series. They got a couple field goals out of Hank, and they weren't going offensively with Hank in there. Go back to Drew Tate, and it's going to be a question mark now. What are they going to do this offseason? It's going to be a long one. There's a lot of decisions to be made. Who's their starting quarterback? It looks like Drew Tate. Do they move Henry Burris? Joffrey Reynolds is going to get moved out. Where's he going to go? And the receiving core is nice and banged up. Nick Lewis hurt his knee badly in that early in second quarter, and he wasn't himself the rest of the game.
Yep.
Rambo still may have an injury that he's been hiding for the last few weeks.
Well, this is what surprised me, him coming back. And, when you have ACL and MCL problems, and that's pretty tough to hide.
Yeah, he claims it's not his ACL, but he claims the Achilles injury is just as bad as the knee. But still, he's not 100%. He's at age 33 right now. He's going to have to come back from more injuries. Nick Lewis, the extent of his injury won't be known for a while, and this team has a lot of question marks. Do they lose coaches? Do they lose players to free agency? Do they have the cap space to go after some pieces that they might need? So a lot of things that will have to sort it out in the next few weeks, and the offseason arrived much earlier than anybody expected in this town.
Well, let's talk about Henry, because just so everyone knows, he is under contract. He is going in one more year. He's going into his option year. Now, everyone says, well, we hear all these rumors. It's up to the Calgary Stampeders what they want to do with this guy. I mean, they can bring him into camp and pay him this big bucks. I can't see that happening. Or they can trade him, or they can release him. Releasing him does absolutely nothing for this football team.
Right.
And only a foolish manager would do that.
The only thing, and I asked Henry this point blank, and I said, would you accept a pay cut to come back as a guy who's fighting for the number one job? He says, absolutely no way. I'd be a fool to do that. He can be a starter somewhere.
Yeah.
If he's not going to be a starter here, he's going to be a starter somewhere.
Yeah.
And there are suitors out there.
Sure there are.
Winnipeg would be interested. Toronto would be interested. Maybe another team would be interested.
Hamilton, maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting how this playoffs goes for Winnipeg versus Hamilton in the East Final. Obviously, whatever team goes to the Grey Cup is probably going to feel pretty good about their quarterback situation. Who knows what the way it's going to play out. If you were to trade Henry Burris, you would want to get an experienced quarterback in return. So you look at the viable options out there. Steven Giles might not look good as a starter, but he's a pretty good-looking backup, I think. And if that trade were to happen, I wouldn't be surprised, because it would solve two teams' problems right there.
Yep, good point.
And Henry said he just doesn't want to come back in this situation where he's in and out. He doesn't know if he's going to be the starter, and then it's not going to be a good situation for Drew Tate either. If he's going to be the starting quarterback of the future, he's got to start and not have Henry come in at halftime.
Well, and Henry doesn't want to back up, and Henry doesn't have a good relationship with John Huffnagel, so it just makes sense to move.
Right.
Just move.
Yeah.
Let's make that.
A change of scenery would probably do him a world of good.
Sure.
And now he'll be have the chance to, get into those all-time yardage marks with another couple of years as a starter.
Let's look at the playoff picture again. Edmonton going in to take on the BC Lions at home. BC, obviously the hottest team and the easiest route to the Grey Cup without even leaving their couch, basically, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they do have the series lead, 3-1. I love the Eskimos, the way they match up. I mean, pardon me, I love the BC Lions, the way they line up against the Eskimos, because even in victory, that Eskimo team was sloppy and didn't look good. Ricky Ray managed the game, but he didn't win it.
Right, but he didn't do things to put his team in a chance to
Yeah.
lose. The Ricky Ray, he is a playoff quarterback. He wins playoff games. He's gone to 3 Grey Cups now. He's won 2 of them. He's been a Grey Cup MVP. I know he's had some games where he's, had issues as a starter in the playoffs. 2005 was a good example. Jason Moss had to come off the bench twice, but that guy's a winner, and he was giving the ball to his playmakers yesterday. He was realizing the pressure was coming and just eating the ball. He wasn't losing it. They could very much easily lost balls. He didn't fumble. He didn't turn the ball over. That was a key part of his performance. The Eskimos without Jerome Messam, that is going to be an issue.
Sure
because
it is.
That hit by Demetrius Morley, devastating. I had no issue with it. Some players did, but I think that was. He's got to recognize that the rush is going to be coming. When he catches the ball in the flat, somebody's going to try and hit him. He's got to be more aware.
Yeah.
And he wasn't facing the defensive players at the time.
2 things before we wrap up on this CFL section. Anthony Cavillo in a losing cause, and that game was outstanding to watch.
Amazing. And you said how insane I was last week, right? When I said the Tiger Cats could go into Montreal and put up some points and win that game. I was insane last week.
I've called you insane more than once.
Yes. Now what am I?
I guess you're a genius.
Yeah, except I picked the Stamps to win too. So.
Yeah, okay. We look at this, what Anthony Cavillo did, and we talked about that. I mean, both teams just limped into the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. But, it was a great display. And the thing we talked about last week, Cavillo, puts up 512 yards in this game, outstanding career, but he was not the best player in the East. He wasn't even the best player on his team this year.
Right.
And they, instead of going with Richardson, they go with Anthony Cavillo. And another thing I want to talk to you about, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I can't figure this franchise out. The man that I thought would be the first gone is now in charge of all football operations. Brendan Taman didn't like what he did in Winnipeg, don't like what he's doing in Saskatchewan, and now he's the man. Figure that out.
It's the Danny Machocha pyramid of success. If you don't do well at a bottom position, you just get promoted up all the way to the top.
That's a good point.
But now that Brendan Taman's in charge, we'll see if he actually was the man making these moves the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I know he wasn't. He didn't pick the head coach last year, even though he was the GM. It didn't work that way in Saskatchewan last year. Now that he has a chance to pick his own head coach, I think he's going to pick Corey Chamberlain from the Tiger Cats.
Yep.
Obviously was under a lot of duress in that game yesterday, and which was fun to see him on the sidelines. And I actually said to Eric Tillman, I said, hey, how come they're focusing in on the future head coach of the Rough Riders? And Eric Tillman just, and he walked away. That was the scene in the press box at Commonwealth Stadium before the game. Now that Taman's in charge, will things change? Will he exude some more power? I don't know. He's got to find players, and he's got a lot of free agents to lock up. That team could be decimated by free agency this year.
Sure they could, and probably will be.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a long off season for Saskatchewan. Those winters are bad enough. Not having a good football team, it makes them drink even more
Sitting
heavy.
for the entire month of November and watching other teams play doesn't help either.
No.
Can utility be a poster? Can utility keep you up at night, dreaming? Can utility put thoughts in your head? Depends on what you mean by utility. Introducing the new Porsche Cayenne and Cayenne S Hybrid. Lighter, more agile, more efficient. More Porsche than ever.